You remember Merle Dixon, right? Daryl's psychotic piece of shit dung brother from The Walking Dead. I swear, YouTube, if you demonetize this, I'm gonna So, Merle Dixon, the guy who had a blade prosthetic after having to saw his own hand off. Archaeologists have now found the remains of a badass mofo with a real knife prosthetic in a necropolis from the 6th to 8th century in northern Italy. He was a Lombard or Longobard in his 40s or 50s, and he had his right arm amputated halfway down the forearm. Now, this could have happened in battle. It could have been cut off directly there, or this could have been a medical amputation, possibly as a result of an injury either on the battlefield or somewhere else. It could be a variety of possible causes. But what I like is that, as pointed out, the researchers determined that the limb had been removed by blunt force trauma. You know, that's critical information. It could have just fallen off, right? You know how your arm can fall asleep sometimes? You know, what if it falls dead and then it just falls off? What, that never happened to you? Well, lucky you. There was evidence of advanced healing on the bone, so he lived for quite a long time after the amputation. And the way he was found, he had what was left of his arm laid across his torso, and there was a D-shaped buckle on his amputated stump, and next to it was a knife, lined up with his arm. And there were even traces of decomposed organic material, possibly leather. So this is pretty obviously what that was. And they also found changes to the bone, which are likely a result of pressure from the prosthesis, right, pushing down on it. And they even noticed that his teeth were worn down more on the right side of his mouth, and that was possibly a result of regularly tightening the strap on his prosthesis with his teeth. This may also remind you of the custom-made gladiator weapon that I showed in a video a while ago, which I designed based on what a Scissor or Arbelas would use. A few people suggested that this might have been intended as a weapon for an amputee. There is no solid evidence on that apparently, but what I did find is on the RomanArmyTalk.com forum, there was someone who talked about seeing a picture of a stone relief showing a gladiator who was grabbing the opponent's trident while his weapon was lying on the ground. So the Scissor or whatever, we don't really know what they call that weapon, but this kind of weapon that was strapped to the forearm with the crescent-shaped blade on it. So it was lying on the ground, and he clearly had the hand. So it does not seem to be, at least not exclusively, an amputee weapon. I can't get my hands on that particular book, so I'm unable to verify that, but it's interesting. So there are also many other examples of prosthetic limbs in history, usually not with blades attached, but it happens sometimes. Like this, for example, it's got some cutlery attached to the prosthetic limb. That's pretty cool. That's really interesting to see. It's the only picture I found of that and didn't find any information about it. Probably the most famous example is Götz von Berlichingen, a German knight who lived from 1480 to 1562. Yes, he lived to the old age of 82 at that time. That's pretty impressive, especially for a knight and mercenary. And he lost his hand to a cannonball in the siege of Landshut. So he got an iron prosthetic that was strapped to his forearm and that even had spring mechanisms that allowed him to lock the fingers so he could hold onto a sword. Personally, I would think it would probably be easier to strap a shield to the stump and then train yourself to use a sword with the left hand, because having this prosthetic hand would not allow you to do certain things, like, for example, tighten the fingers for extra, to generate force for that nice snappy cut. But he preferred it this way. He would rather be able to still hold a sword in the right arm than train him to use the left. Either way, pretty interesting. And supposedly he could even hold a quill and write with that iron hand. Two of the oldest prosthetics are the Cairo toe and the Capua leg. The Cairo toe is an artificial big toe that was found on the mummy of a woman in her 50s or 60s, found in a tomb near Thebes, and it was made of wood and leather, between 2,600 and 3,000 years old. The Egyptians often replaced missing body parts on mummies, but that was after the death, because they wanted to make the body whole again for religious reasons. But in this case, it seems that this was actually a functional prosthesis to make it easier to walk in sandals. And the Capua leg is about 2,300 years old, a bronze prosthetic leg found in, well, Capua in southern Italy. Italy? Southern literally Italy. Yeah. So it looks quite basic, but it's definitely fascinating to see such an old prosthesis. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about this time. Hope you found it interesting, and thanks for watching. By the way, if you want this shirt here, All Hail the Gods of Steel, there'll be a card, no, up there? Yeah, up there, that you can click on to a Spreadshirt store, and it will also be linked down below. Anyway, have a good one, folks. In his furdies? In his fertile furdies. I found a post on Roman armory. I combined Roman army talk and my armory into one. Maybe they should just join forces and, yeah, do that. Because I said it. That's all the reason you need. Because I'm somehow an authority. Mm-hmm.